the Creative Mornings website, and it says you can spend a lifetime looking for a sense of home. Sometimes we must leave our home in order to find it. In his poem, Journey Home, Rabindranath Tagore writes, "The traveler has to knock at every alien door to come on his own." Home can be a place we belong. Home can be found among people we love. Home can be carried with you wherever you go. Home can be formed by people creating together. Home is a direction that we are tilted towards. Home is something we have to remake again and again. What home have you built for yourself? And what can we do to build a home for each other? We want to take a moment to thank our global partners. First up, we'd love to thank MailChimp. They have a special insider community for freelancers and agencies that help small businesses succeed. And it's called MailChimp & Co. And it's designed to help you grow your business, expand your expertise, and get insider MailChimp perks. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it's free. We really recommend that you take a look. And we love that MailChimp values our Creative Mornings ATL community. Thank you to Skillshare, our global partner for online learning. Skillshare is an online learning community helping millions take the next step towards their creative journey. We love the overlaps that exist between our two communities. We'd also love to thank our video partner, Off the Record, a Latino-owned agency that is the farmer's market of organic content creation. We're able to stream to you because of the magic of this team, and be sure to check them out on Instagram at Off the Record and at www.offtherecord.com. I'd love to introduce one of my favorite artists this morning. Adon Bean is an accomplished spoken word poet, MC, storyteller, and voiceover talent, hailing from the small town of Massillon, Ohio, but has called Atlanta home for over a decade. As a graduate of Morehouse College, Adon has anchored his creative base firmly in the Atlanta arts, culture, and music scene. His work has been featured on or with companies and brands such as Change.org, TEDx, Habitat for Humanity, Sony Music Group, Def Jam Records, Cash Money Records, say what? Taking them for the 99, The Burt Show, CarMax, Coca-Cola, Cricket Wireless, Delta Airlines, and many, many more. So without further ado, please give an at-home round of applause. Drop some emojis in the chat for my homie, Adon Bean.
Again, my name is Adon Bean. It's such a pleasure to be here this morning with you. As she said, I originally come from Ohio, but Atlanta truly is home for me. So I just want to share a couple poems with you, wherever you are right now. Hopefully you can find a sense of home in these pieces. This first poem essentially is my ode, my love letter to this city. It is to this region. It is called The South Got Something to Say. And hopefully within this, no matter how long you've been here in Atlanta, you might hear some landmarks and some people and some things that resonate with you. It goes as follows. We have gathered in this place, all virtually unfamiliar, but yet family, all disparate but unified. This is an art church service invocation designed for you and I. This was written to the tune of Dirty South, to Goody Mob's Fly Away, to a midnight train to Georgia. This is a companion piece to Pearl Clegg. Long before Andre 3000 told a crowd that the South has got something to say, you could hear our cries rise from deep within that red clay. This has been directed by Kenny Leon, choreographed by T. Lang or Gawain Mata or Laura Stallings, captured on canvas by Fahamu Peku or Charmaine Minifield or Fabian Williams. This city is a siren for the arts, and so many of us have answered its calling. This is all okra and sweet tea, banana pudding and peach trees. We provide the soundtrack to any function, even if that junction is spaghetti. Confederacy Memorial Mountains and mayors named Keisha, also a mayor named John strumming his guitars to an Eddie's attic bleachers. Home of our king, the preacher, the thinker, the dreamer, the remarkable civil rights legacy. We even Habitat for Humanity. We peanut farmer presidency. This was produced using a 30% film tax incentive. This has been lemon pepper wetted, waffle housed at every exit. Home of the forever inventive. It is a simple, glaring fact. Our content has been soaked in the cuisines of Busy Bees, The Beautiful, and Mary Max, and Fat Max, and Miss Ann Snack Bar, No Counter Lean. And this was constructed during a 2-hour wait in line at Slutty Vegan. But see, when a city that is too busy to hate somehow starts to find the time, when gentrification becomes an act of violence and no one listens to the victims of the crime, where you can judge a society by how it treats its least, as it is often said, I have seen stranger things here than The Walking Dead. We are a city experiencing growing pains, expansion, border shifts. Will court a company like Amazon and ironically be willing to destroy a forest in order to headquarter it? But see, try as they might, they cannot high rise and condo our culture to death. They cannot beltline our brilliance. They can't Marie Kondo our community that is tidy up the houseless for a 2019 Super Bowl and then leverage our current identity for some future soul. Hell no. This is ATL, ho. Home of the artisan and the educator, the athlete, the author, the painter, the innovator, the culinary chef and the curator, the politician, the preacher, the grassroots activist, organizer, leader, scientist, celebrity, farmer, speaker. It is also home of those water boys aggressively selling you water at every stoplight and off-ramp. This is for every native, Grady, baby. This is for all of us transplants. This is Olympics 96. LaFace Records, So Def billboards, back when Apache Cafe was yin yang. Even then, my friend, we did the dang thing. See, Atlanta truly influences everything. They branded it so you don't forget it, because see, we focus on creating the culture, not the credit. It is embedded in the root. We do the work. They pluck the fruit, but the entire world knows where to go if and when they want the juice, the sauce. We are the dispatchers of the drip, the high priest of the hip. Whether behind the pen, the brush, or the lens, they come to Atlanta when they want the realness. See, there is something about this place that makes it safe for the creative endeavor. It is fertile soil for the imaginative and the experimental. It honors the effort. We house Hammonds, Wonderlands, Hollyweirds, Cities of Ink, and Stanconias. We not at all New York. We're not trying to be California. We are south of the north, but yet we're north of the south. We are a city out of nowhere that is everywhere. Just look around. Our DNA has made its way to every nook, cranny, corner, marketing meeting, boardroom, and block. We've been had something to say. And the world's been watching and listening, whether they admit that or not. The South. That is the South got something to say. I hope you found something in there, as I said, that feels like home. One of the things that we often say too is that home is where the heart is. And I find that to be true. Right. You know, I think in this last year, that's something that really resonated with us as we had to shelter in place at home. We had to work from home. We went ahead and ordered a bunch of things off Amazon that we didn't need because we just, I guess, wanted to send Jeff Bezos to space. Regardless, we did that. Right. And the other thing I think about that idea of home is sometimes, as it said in that introduction, home often might not even be a fixed location. It's not a place sometimes. It could be a community. Could be a group of people, could be a person. My mother, she lived in her house in Ohio for over 45 years. My father, he transitioned, passed away in 2018, and that home stopped feeling like home because that person was no longer there. I don't know what losses you faced or what things have hurt you, but when you say home is where the heart is, what do you do when your heart is broken? What do you do when your heart and your home is in disrepair? One of the things that hurts my heart is when I think about the indigent community here in Atlanta, those who are experiencing housing insecurity. I want to share this piece called Curb Appeal and to get out my way and enjoy the rest of this morning with you all. But it centers around those people, those nameless and faceless individuals who do not have a covering over their head or a place of residence. And I say houseless because just because you do not have those things does not mean you do not have a home. It goes as follows. Be as it may, home of the castaway, the city whispers, we fast and pray. The sinner's Saturday, the saints of the latter day. From the fabulous Fox Theater, we're like a block away. Portland and Pine, where misfortunes align, the great disparity between your portion and mine. Such a morbid design, but of course with the time that passes, it has to start warping our mind, this familiar ugly, the foreign beauty. Amidst these red line neighborhoods, you'll find a ruby. There is hidden gems in plain sight. In this vicious world, Rufus Wainwright, limboing the poverty line, your life can become a crime. Panhandling for dollar signs, feeding me can get you fined. Medicate with free base, dank, or some kind of wine, missing rungs on that ladder to success that they want us to climb. I don't do handouts. I do not carry cash. I'll get you next time. This is all I have. All those declines to help, they ring hella hollow. A hungry belly with only pride to swallow. Pebbles on the street leave impressions on my cheek. Today's newspaper served as tonight's bed sheet. I'm trying to make ends meet, locked in a dead heat of survival, but yet racing with these lead feet. But it is just as well. The streets of Pratt and Bell, prior to heaven, after hell, poverty's paradise, the vagrant Valhalla, somewhere between the Inshallah and the Our Father. The park is my kitchen, my living room's a bridge, my bed is a bench, and the trash can is my fridge. Midtown, 4th Ward, Southwest, too strong. See, the scabs of the city have been picked at for too long. Foxes have holes, birds have nests. The Son of Man has no place where he can rest. Foxes have holes, birds have nests. The Son of Man has no place where he can rest. The poverty-stricken, the inadequate, the indigent, the hapless, the penniless, the destitute. The only difference is these guys I'm describing rock a tie and suit. I'm talking corporate camouflage, the 3-car garage, the McMansion expansion, the opulent mirage, the 5 bedrooms, the curb appeal, the class struggle. The economy will commonly burst your housing bubble. The suburban sprawl, the gaudy high rises, lock in that mortgage rate for they increase the prices, empty developments, vacant subdivisions. That gated community can become a prison. Listen, nothing's wrong if you and yours went along, but a castle becomes a hassle if that's where your heart is drawn. Look, a house, it's not a home. Let the banks foreclose on you. It's so true. Ironically, a roof over your head can actually expose you. Foxes have holes. Birds have nests. The Son of Man has no place where he can rest. Foxes have holes. Birds have nests. The Son of Man has no place where he can rest. And in the words of Gil Scott-Heron, it might not be such a bad idea if we never, ever went home again. Thank you so much for this time. May we find home in ourselves and extend that home to others. Thank you.
So much Adon Bean. I don't know about y'all, but I was losing it during those poems. I love Adon Bean's work. You all can let Adon know how much you love his work by dropping an emoji in the chat. Be sure to follow Adon Bean on Instagram. It's at Adon Bean, ADANBEA. And make sure you follow and find Adon Bean's website as well. We'd like to take another moment to thank our local partners. We are filming at Indie Studios, where we are streaming live. Thank you all so much. Indie is an award-winning, design-focused, culturally based workspace now open in the Armour Otley Loop at 190 Otley Drive, a 35,000 square feet former mid-century modern warehouse converted into thoughtfully imagined creative environment. The Indie presents private studios awash in natural light, tons of outdoor space, meeting and event space, a screening room, a reference library, a lobby bar, 150 linear foot front garden, plus cultural programming bringing people together around art, film, music, literature, hospitality, design, good vibes, and like-minded creativity. Please visit www.indiebecomesyou.com to learn more. Next month, our theme is save the date for Tuesday, August 17th. We don't have the theme yet. This month's field trip, Atlanta is America's capital of income inequality. Its journalism is widening that inequality. Traditional outlets rarely prioritize the information needs of Black, brown, and working class communities, instead of focusing on what drives clicks and on neighborhood deficits. Journalists are rarely embedded in the communities that need the information the most. As a result, these communities don't always have the tools and access to information through public records, civic systems, or elected officials to advance their own priorities. Canopy Atlanta is a new nonprofit newsroom that believes the way to fix this problem is to create collaborative journalism, training and equipping communities to access information just as journalists do. Through our neighborhood-centered issues, we listen to what information a neighborhood needs to thrive, train residents to report those stories alongside experienced journalists, and share that information in ways that a community can access it. In this field trip, we'll talk about how you can listen to what information your neighborhood needs, ways to access that information, and how to share it through storytelling in ways that everyone can benefit. We'll learn from two leaders of Canopy's teams, Sanam Vashi, Operations Director, and Floyd Hall, Canopy co-founder and cultural producer. So that field trip will happen on August 17th at 7:30 p.m. to Canopy Atlanta. And we'd love to shout out Julia Levy, our field trip captain. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to your next host, Ms. Joan Lyric Leslie.
Good morning. Good morning. I certainly did. I want to see some hearts in the chat, some applause in the chat, and I have the privilege of bringing up our next act of the morning. So let me tell you a little bit about Jeannie Lobato. As a child, Jeannie sought refuge in her art. It was her outlet, a way to cope with life stresses of growing up as a first-generation American in Jersey City, New Jersey, a community littered with drugs and gang violence. The artistic creation process gave her a healthy outlet to express life's struggles that she could not understand at the time. Jeannie had to act differently when she was out in public and learn how to survive and blend in as a daughter of immigrants. Art uplifted her, gave her confidence, and shaped the person she is today. Art saved her, as she often exclaims. After receiving a general fine arts degree from Maryland Institute College of Art, Jeannie proceeded to work in the advertising industry for a decade, y'all. After about 6 years into her advertising career, she no longer felt fulfilled and longed for something more meaningful. Contemplating what her true passion in life was and still is, art, children, and helping people, Jeannie took the leap and started Draw Change, a nonprofit organization that aids impoverished children around the world through the use of art therapy-based programming. Her desire is to share with them a tool that allows them to envision a break from their cycle of poverty. Through Draw Change's programs, mindsets are changed from poverty to hope, giving power to future community leaders. Jeannie dreams of empowering children so that they may channel their creativity as a guiding force, allowing them to fulfill their dreams and overcome the traumas they have experienced with racism, poverty, and overall being looked at as second-class citizens. After 12 years in operation, Draw Change continues to be a beacon of hope for over 2,000 children annually. Jeannie lives her truth and passion every day through Draw Change and is loving every minute of it. A little more of her story can be found at drawchange.org/founders story. I now introduce you to Jeannie Lobato.
Good morning. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm so excited to be here. So excited to be amongst creative folks. Adon, wow, your poems touched me. I have a lot to say about this topic. As the introduction just mentioned, I am the daughter of immigrant parents from Uruguay, South America, a small little tiny country in southern South America. And that's where I'll start my story. So in the late 70s, my parents immigrated from Uruguay and they crossed the Rio Grande in Mexico. And I may have been in my mom's womb at that time. They landed in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is where I spent the next 18 years of my life. And for the first 5 years of my life, they did not have a house. They were living on friends' couches, church members' couches, some family members. They were confused nonetheless, and they had an infant and more children as well. They say that those years 0 to 5 and 0 to 10 are formidable years, and I grew up during that time essentially with an innate confusion about house and home. My parents did everything they could. By the time I was 5, when I went to kindergarten, we finally had a house to call our own, an apartment in Jersey City, New Jersey. I grew up going to public school, going to an inner city at the time. Jersey City was riddled with gang violence, with drugs, and my parents did everything they could to keep their little girl safe. I had to fight for my education, both figuratively and literally. My dad taught me to be someone in what I call the streets that can defend themselves. So I grew up with a persona that he instilled in me, that when you go outside, when you are going to school, you have a rough exterior. And I'm so grateful for that, because that was extremely helpful growing up in Jersey City, New York City area. He taught me to look everyone in the eye, to make sure that they know that I'm aware that who they are, and if I needed to defend myself, I could. He taught me to have this, to speak a certain way, to give a perception to everyone that I was rough and I could defend myself. And at home, inside of our house, I was to preserve my Uruguayan culture. So that was very confusing. So I had this sense that I had to be someone different out in the streets and then someone different inside of my household. And meanwhile, I wasn't quite either of those things. As Don was mentioning in his beautiful poems, home is a sense that you feel inside. And I grew up with this just weird, very weird confusion about what home was. I just didn't understand why outside of the house I had to be a certain way, and then inside of the house I had to be a very different way. Uruguayan culture is very different than American culture. And on top of that, rough inner city culture. So I was very confused. I feel like a sense of confusion right now, even while I'm saying this. I'm very grateful that my parents instilled that in me. In the house, we were not allowed to talk English. We had to speak only Spanish. We had to listen to the Spanish music, to specifically Uruguayan music. And again, my dad, almost like he was probably terrified. I'm sure he was terrified. And when I would leave the house in the morning to go to school, to walk to school, I would have this pep talk about how to properly protect myself and defend myself if I needed to. And then at home, I had to be someone completely different. So fast forward to high school. Ever since, let me backtrack just one second. I always wanted to be an artist when I grew up. As long as I could remember, when I was asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a fine artist. I wanted to be a painter. I was lucky and fortunate that my parents did not squash that dream. My dad did want me to be a lawyer or a doctor, one of those type of fields, but he did not completely dismiss that I wanted to be an artist when I grew up. So all through grammar school and high school, I was fortunate to be in magnet art programs. And in high school, for my senior thesis, to get into art school, into art college, I painted cemeteries. And I spent most of my high school career not getting into gangs, not doing all the drugs and alcohol. I spent most of my high school time in cemeteries. I would paint them in very vivid colors, draw them, sculpt them, do all the things to depict. My intention was always to have the viewer view cemetery, something usually seen as grim, as bright and cheerful. So little did I know at the time that the dichotomy that I was feeling inside was the dichotomy that I was painting. So my friends and people that would see me, without even thinking about it, of course, they were like, oh, she's got it all together. She has this strong sense of home, of who she is, she's very confident. That was all a facade. That was all a facade, because on the outside, I really did feel that I was those things. I really did feel very confident. I really did feel that I could defend myself. But honestly, deep down inside, I was just confused. I was confused as to why I always needed to be these two different people. Growing up in a dual culture, in a dual society, is just confusing. So I wound up getting into art school, and that is what led me to leave Jersey City. I went to school in Baltimore, Maryland. And right after college, I'm fast forwarding quite a bit. Right after college, I wound up getting a job here in Atlanta, which is, that's how I wound up in what is now my pretty permanent for now home. I've been here for a little over 20 years. And coming here is what finally led me to start understanding what home was. I could say that for the first 21 years of my life, I had no concept of home. I thought that I knew what home was, but I really didn't, because I always had to be these two different people. And that's confusing. And I know this is an experience that many, many people have. I'd be curious to know about it. And so I wound up getting a job here in Atlanta at an ad agency, which I'm very grateful for. After working there for 6 years, I realized that wasn't me. That's not what I wanted to do with my life. So I started to think about what my passions were and still are, and they are art, children, and helping people. So I put those three together, and I wound up forming an organization called Draw Change. And Draw Change is an arts nonprofit organization that empowers children through the use of art therapy-based programming. So our primary audience and target audience is children experiencing homelessness, refugee children, asylum-seeking children, and poor children around the world. The bulk of our programs are in Atlanta, and we are also as far as Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, and Ethiopia as well. And our main focus is through the use of art therapy-based programming, to help children understand that they always are home, regardless of where they currently are in their life. We spent a lot of time talking about, as Adon mentioned, home is where the heart is. We have children that are currently experiencing homelessness draw what they feel like home is to them. We have them draw all the details, and we play on words, draw change out of them. We pull out of them like, okay, I understand that you do not have a house right now, but you still have a home. What do you want your house to look like when you leave this place and you have a permanent home with you and your family? What does it mean to you? How do you want to feel when you have this house/home? We explain to them the difference between a house and a home. A house is a structure. It has four walls. It has this building that we're currently in, or it looks like this building we're currently in, and a home is something you carry in your heart. It's beautiful to see how in just 1 hour in our programs, and we have the same exact programming all around the world, how there is some sense of understanding that these children acquire through their artwork. These children are mostly 5 to 10 years old, grade school, but we work with all ages. I'm very excited because next month we are starting a program at our southern border, and we're going to a welcome center in Arizona, just 20 miles north of where my parents made that trek into this country. And I've never worked with asylum-seeking children. It's my dream that I can give back to them. I can start them very young, the second they cross that border, into knowing that you are welcome here. You are welcome here simply because if you can draw it on paper, if you have a home here, just because you have just left your country, your native country you had to leave to protect yourself, you still have a home. And I'm very excited about that project. You can learn all about that on our website. Some other themes that we do within Draw Change is we work through the use of art to empower the children to know that they can create anything they want in their life. Similar to creating your house and however you want your house to look. It's my belief that if you can imagine something, you're that much closer to achieving it in life. And we have them draw their dreams. We ask them what they want to be when they grow up. If they say they want to be a fisherman, okay, great. Let's talk about what ocean are you going to fish in? What boat, what vessel are you going to be in? Who are you going to be with? What are you going to wear? Things like that. Simply to help them start dreaming, start imagining. The children we work with are living in situations where mom and dad, understandably so, is focusing on getting a roof over their head and food in their bellies. We don't negate that, and that's the reason why we partner with organizations that are doing that, and we are focusing on the children and their mental health. So it's my desire to do that around the world. It's our mission that we are able to provide that to children experiencing homelessness, children seeking asylum, children living in severely impoverished communities around the world. So I hope you are able to join me in helping me bring this to children around the world. And it's my desire that today, the one little thing that you get out of everything today is that you are at home. And if you are not at home, start thinking about that. Start thinking about what will it take for you to feel like you're at home? What could you do today to feel like you're at home? Just because you have a house does not mean you're at home. You could be living, as Adon was saying, underneath the bridge temporarily, and you still are at home. So today, my desire is that you find your heart and you find your home. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeannie, for sharing your story with us today. I know we asked earlier for you all to submit some questions you have through our YouTube channel. So those questions are going to continue to come in, but I just want to get started with one. So I'm in nonprofit as well here in Atlanta. So as I think about the community you're serving, right? How does your art get fed through that community, through serving that community?
Yeah, that's a good question. We start ongoing programs in homeless shelters, in welcome centers. Mm-hmm. So we start the programs, and if they're not in Atlanta where we physically are, mm-hmm. there are people on the ground running them. And they're weekly programs, mm-hmm. and we train the trainer to train them to continue to run the programs.
Love that model.
Thank you.
Yes. So have you all been based here for the whole 12 years?
We have.
Gotcha. What's your vision for expansion?
Oh, man. I have a very big vision, and that's kind of what keeps me up at night.
I love it.
My vision is that wherever a child is experiencing this sort of displacement, that they are able to, at the very least, even if it's not through Draw Change, but they're at the very least, they have a sheet of paper and even a pencil in front of them, mm-hmm. so they can draw out what it is that they want in their life.
Gotcha. Now, these past 2 years have been a lot, to say the least, for most of the population you're serving and for you as an artist. What has been one moment over these past 2 years that has really kept you going? Maybe there's a child you have helped or a family that you've worked with, but what's one moment that has reminded you of the purpose of the organization?
Oh, man. So from March of 2020 to mm-hmm. September, we were not able to physically see any of the children. Mm-hmm. We developed an entire virtual model in that time. Don't ask me how we did that, but we made it happen mm-hmm. and continued our programming virtually. Mm-hmm. But in September, one of our first homeless shelters that we were able to return to was here in Atlanta. Okay. And we just started with a conversation with the children, and we asked them, how are they feeling? How are they feeling today doing this artwork? Mm-hmm. And a child expressed that she loved being with us because it was getting her out of the house. So at that moment, she was living in a homeless shelter. It was getting her out of the house. And to think that we've all been quarantined, and to think that they were given a moment, an express moment, an opportunity to just express themselves and actually be present with that. Like, yes, I got to get out of the house today to draw, to paint. It's just beautiful.
A break in, routine.
Right.
I love it. Right. So it looks like we did get a question from our YouTube folks. Folks want to know how they can get involved with Draw Change.
Yeah.
What's their first step?
Yeah. So drawchange.org. Mm-hmm. And there's a volunteer application on there. You can volunteer virtually or in our office or in our many programs around the world. You can travel with us as well. Our upcoming trip to Arizona next month is booked. It's book solid, but we'll be going back to Ethiopia and Costa Rica and Puerto Rico as soon as we can, as well as our different locations around the United States. But yes, drawchange.org.
Awesome. Okay, so it looks like we do have another question, but it goes back to your cemetery point. So I love that you all were paying attention to that same part. So this is Katie. Thank you for presenting to us today. Back to your high school days. She's just curious of what you drew on the cemetery. So what was the
It wasn't graffiti.
Oh. We weren't trying to get you in trouble, Jeannie.
I was painting the cemeteries.
Gotcha.
So on canvas. or on paper.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for clearing that up because I thought you were in the
God.
cemetery with your paintbrush. And
Well,
yeah.
I was with my paintbrush, but I
Okay.
was painting on canvas. Like I
Gotcha.
wasn't painting on the gravestones. Oh God, no.
So Katie, thank you for that question and providing clarity for the folks.
Yeah.
And can you let the people know where to find you? You already let them know what to do if they want to be involved with Draw Change, but to follow you as an artist, where can they find you and your work?
Yeah. So I just changed my Instagram handle, but
Perfect timing.
right, it's Jeannie.drawchange, and Jeannie is spelled Jenny because the whole Spanish English translation thing that we're not going to get into, but JENNIE.drawchange on Instagram.
All right. So thank you all so much for tuning in today. Jeannie, thank you for coming in and staying a little after to answer some questions. If folks have more questions for you, I'm sure they can follow you on those social platforms, but definitely follow what Draw Change is doing in the community and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Creative Mornings ATL. You all have been amazing. Give it up again one more time for Adon Bean, who performed for us earlier, and for our amazing host, Ashley Hayes. All right. Thank you. Bye.